Cuomo squaring off. New York Governor Andrew Cuomo announcing a special prosecutor will investigate the physical abuse allegations surrounding former New York Attorney General Eric Schneiderman. Schneiderman denying the allegations, saying that it was consensual role-playing. Joining me right now to weigh in is Fox News senior judicial analyst Judge Andrew Napolitano. Wow, Judge, this is a wild one.
It sure is.
We know that he smacked his former girlfriends in the face and elsewhere, and he says it was role-playing.
Well, you know, I'm going to suggest to you,
allegedly.
I'm going to suggest to you that the speed with which he resigned after this became public tells me that the evidence of his guilt is overwhelming. That means either there's a very large number of women who are saying substantially the same thing, who felt that they could not come forward with this, because remember, until yesterday, he was the chief law enforcement officer in the state of New York, or that there's forensic evidence like photographs or videos, which when he saw it, he said, I'm cooked, I got to get out of here. So the governor is quite right to insist on an investigation of his criminal behavior. In fact, this morning in New York, there's actually rivalry amongst which DA is going to get the investigation. The governor chose the district attorney of Nassau County, an accomplished female prosecutor. But, of course, Cy Vance here in Manhattan wants it. Nothing will prevent any prosecutor from investigating evidence of a crime committed by former Attorney General Schneiderman in the geographic area where that prosecutor has jurisdiction. So he has a plethora of legal problems confronting him this morning.
And he was investigating Cy Vance, saying that Cy Vance wasn't quick enough with Harvey Weinstein and taking him down. And now the tables have turned in a big way. Cy Vance is investigating him.
The thing that is so amazing is, until this came out, he was the leader in the country amongst male prosecutors on the Me Too movement. He was fearless, and he went after all the right people. Of course, we didn't know at the time what he was harboring within him and what he was doing in his private time. The other thing that he was the leader in the country is there are many, many lawsuits in which states are suing the federal government. Some have 5 attorneys general, some have as many as 35. In nearly all of these, Maria, he took the lead. His office fomented the litigation against the Trump administration. His office did all the work, and the other attorneys general signed on. So one wonders if these cases will be pursued with the same zeal with which he was pursuing them by his successor. His temporary successor has the same, shall we say, political ideology as him, obviously a different temperament. She's a woman, but she probably will continue with these litigations against the Trump administration.
Yeah, and he was pretty vocal against the Trump administration, by the way, Schneiderman was. I was looking through some of his tweets recently. I mean, Dagan, weigh in here. He was adamant. He didn't like Donald Trump. He didn't want unfettered power. And now this.
Well, that's the irony of it. He was obviously, according to this New Yorker story, an abuser of women and also an abuser of power and the people here in New York. He withheld evidence in a civil case against Hank Greenberg. There are many times he tried to expose conservative donors to conservative nonprofits. And in terms of the biggest thing that he tried to do against President Trump, he went to the lawmakers in the state of New York just last month to try and get rid of the double jeopardy standard so he could prosecute people who were pardoned by President Trump. That's just one example of his overreach here in New York State. Maybe his successor and those after him will learn from that they represent every New Yorker, regardless of whether you vote Democrat or Republican.
But the Office of Attorney General, the Office of Attorney General of the state of New York almost became an arm of the progressive wing of the Democratic Party. Let me tell you something else. If you read the emails between Lisa Strzok and Peter Page and the meetings that they and their renegade FBI agents were having, there was one non-federal official at many of those meetings. It was Eric Schneiderman, so that he could follow up on what Dagan was just talking about. Is there a way to pursue Trump people outside of Trump's pardoning power? He was there, you'll remember this phrase, insurance policy.
Wow. Yeah, that's right. And you know, you mentioned Peter Strzok and Lisa Page, Judge. You know, I was reading a piece yesterday, and they don't want the Justice Department is not collecting all of the electronic communication between them. Even though Congress keeps saying we want all the texts, we're learning a lot from these texts, but it was on their personal devices. So the Justice Department apparently is not being very aggressive in terms of getting all of those texts, and the Congress is upset about it.
And when they do show up and the redactions are removed, we keep finding the same thing over and over again. It's not national security that was redacted. It's FBI and personal embarrassment that was redacted, and that's not a basis for redaction.
Maria, one real thing I want to add really, really quickly. The judge raised this issue of why did Eric Schneiderman resign so quickly. There are clearly more women who he abused. Kimberly Guilfoyle said on Martha McCallum's show last night that she's talking to a fifth woman and has been for several weeks or a couple of months, somebody who the New Yorker did not talk to. So there are more people out there.
That's incredible. Okay, so then this story continues.
Yes.
Judge, thanks for weighing in. Important point, Dagan. Thank you so much.